Hello everyone, I'm Exodia, and today we're making a new part in our placement system tutorial series. This time we're doing placement system part 2.5, not part 3 yet, because currently there are some optimizations I want to do to the code that we have on everything that we have so far, as I feel using user input service over context action service is a little bit inefficient, and that's a mistake on my part. And B, currently it can be a little bit laggy and unoptimized, basically, when we're placing a lot of stuff and then we just are constantly clicking because it still thinks that we're using the mouse.move function when we're not inside of our placement system. So we want to make sure we counteract that a little bit so that we don't have that lag. And yeah, let's jump right into it. So what we'll do is, if you've been following along with the tutorials, you should have a place event and share in your replicated storage or any object that you want. Your placement server, which we will not actually be touching in this tutorials episode, and then your GUI with the placement client script inside of there, which is a local script. So we're going to click on that local script and then go in there. What we're going to do is remove user input service from there and make a brand new variable for context action service. So local context action service equals game :get service context action service. And now what we got to do before we can actually start binding these actions is we've got to make a few more variables. So basically when using context action service, you have to make like an action, which is a string. You have to make an action that is equal to a string variable with the name of that action that you want to bind. So in this case, for our rotate left, rotate right, and then our canceling placement, we're going to make three actions to bind. So we'll do rotate left, and it has to be a string value, so we'll just call it rotate left. Local rotate right equals rotate right. And then the last thing we'll make to bind an action is local cancel placement, which will be equal to cancel placement. And now that we have this set up, we have to set up a handle action function. As when we bind the action, we need to refer to that function that we're binding. So like when the action is bound and it begins, that way we could do stuff when we're pressing the key. So here we'll just go under our rotate right function, indent a little bit, a few lines down, drop a few lines, and do local function handle action. And our parameters for this function will be action name, input state, and input object. The most important parameters here are action name and input state. We'll be using those to help bind our actions. And basically, this is where you want to check if it's your action. So if action name equals rotate left, then so we also need to check if it's and input state equals enum dot user input state dot begin. Then, and what we'll do here is we can call our rotate left function, and we can pass the clone chair. In fact, here let's make a new variable for our clone chair, just so we don't define it here, so that it doesn't matter and that we don't. So basically we can just access it anywhere in the script now that we have it defined beforehand. And we'll just want to remove the local before any of it. But yeah, now we can also remove this right here, user input service input began for our rotate left trigger. And then we'll do the same for right. So we'll do else if action name equals rotate right and input state equals enum dot user input state dot begin. Then we can call rotate right. Oops, we can call the function rotate right. And then we can pass our parameter clone chair. I'll also do the same here for our rotate left function, so don't forget. I'm going to do else if action name equals cancel placement and input state equals enum.userinputState.begin. Then, and we're going to make a new function for this. So it's going to be local function cancel placement clone chair. And so what we'll do is we'll just take the code down here, copy it, and then paste it inside this new function. And then this way, we can just call that function for canceling placement whenever the key bind is pressed. And then we can pass the clone chair as we're destroying the clone chair and setting it to nil. We'll set it to nil here. So clone chair will be equal to nil. And then now we can delete all this user inputs service stuff. So now the other thing that we need to be doing is optimizations, as we don't really have many checks just to make sure that the clone chair is still there, so that technically our mouse step move is still running, because there isn't really a way to cancel out this mouse step move from what I've looked into. And as a result, this mouse step button 1 down can trigger anytime we're in our game clicking on the screen. And as a result, it can get pretty laggy, because if the chair is actually nil, I'll actually show that right now. So if we're just placing a bunch of chairs, as you can see, there's a lot of like tearing, you know, and if we just start clicking, it causes a lot of lag in our game. And this is even without any parts in here. So if you have like a lot of stuff in your game, this could really tank your performance. And so basically there's a bunch of stuff we can do to counteract this. For example, one thing we can do is go here to line 85. Then we can check if clone chair does not equal nil, then. And then we can fire it only when the clone chair is not equal to nil. In fact, we'll put all this code inside of that if statement just to be safe. And so now, for one, this should be step 1 to reducing a lot of the lag. It's still going to happen. So clearly we can see that this is not enough. There's still other stuff that we have to do to make sure that we're checking and being on the safe side. So here, for example, we'll do if clone chair does not equal nil, then. Alternatively to this, you could also just do if clone chair, but I like to do just if clone chair does not equal nil, then we're going to set the primary part, or set the primary part C-frame, and we'll actually do the same here. So if clone chair does not equal nil, then we'll do that in both of our rotate functions. Now let's see if we're going to still get some lag and see if there's anything else we could do afterwards to fix that. So it's not as bad. It takes a bit longer for the lag to get bad. So if we were to, for example, click here. Okay, so after looking at it, so see what else we could do. I found 2 things that we can do. Now, first, I decided to actually add to the if statement if clone chair does not equal nil and clone chair.primary part does not equal nil, because originally we're getting an error saying that the orientation cannot get the orientation of a nil object. So beforehand, it wasn't seeing that we had a primary part in our clone chair. And just to back that up with just some safety, I ended up setting the clone chair.primary part to clone chair : find first child base. So this will search the clone chair to make sure there's a base inside of it. And we did this inside of our if workspace colon find first child chair equals nil, then when we're cloning a new chair. And so after testing this, if we were to test this in Studio, then we get pretty much no lag at all. We can just place as many chairs as we want. We can click around as all we want, and it's a lot better, you know, because before it was just really tanking our frame rate. So now these few changes have really helped optimize it and make it a lot smoother on performance. So yeah, this is going to do it for part 2.5, as I just really want to get these optimizations in before we start tackling the third part, because I don't really want to like extend the video a great amount just to add this in. So I thought I'd just make it its own separate part. Also, but yeah, that'll be part 2.5. Not as exciting as the other stuff has been, I know, but we will get there with part 3. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. We got our optimizations in, so just to make sure that we're checking everything, just so we're not running into any of those errors, as now with our optimizations we're actually getting no errors in the output, which is good, because beforehand, every time we were placing a new chair, we're actually getting an error as it thought it was deleted constantly when we already had placed it. And it was almost as if it was like trying to place another one by the time it was already deleted, even though we're just placing one. So yeah, now it's working fine and smoothly. We have no errors. So this should be looking good for part number 3, where we're going to be, like I said earlier, we shall make it to where you can only place these this object on a certain ground. Like, say you're making a game like Arcade Empire, and you want to make sure that you can only place your arcade machines, for example, inside your store or your arcade. Make it to where that's the boundaries, and you can't place it anywhere else. That'll help you do that. So yeah, I will see you in that video probably in a week. I'll probably just get on a weekly upload schedule. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. If it was, subscribe, click the bell, because I post videos like these. I try it at least once a week. And yeah, also like the video, and leave any comments below if there's any confusion or critiques for the video. So yeah, see you.